Alright, I'll be switching to this guitar for this lesson since it has inlays. So this is a lesson for Welcome to Buckethead Land by Buckethead. This is going to be the giant robot version, which was the first release. And then later he released it on the Live at Buckethead Land album. It's a little different, has a different solo. So this one has an easier solo. It'd be a lot easier to teach, so I'm doing it this way. So, start things off with the intro riff. It is hybrid picked, so it's going to be picking with your middle finger and your pick. I'll start off by just explaining the notes, and then I'll kind of tell you how to pick it. So it's a little bit of a stretch. It's not as bad on this guitar. The Buckethead one is a 27-inch scale, but you're going to have your index finger, the 5th fret of the A string, and your middle finger at the 7th fret of the low E string. And you'll go, and that's pretty much every time you hit the A string, you're using your middle finger, and every time you hit the low E, you're using your pick. So you'll go 5th fret of the A to 7th of the low E twice, and then bring your pinky up here to the 10th fret of the A, same thing. And then move that pinky to the 9th fret of the A, same thing. So. And then once again, the 5th fret of here, so. Right as you hit that B, you go right into the next lick. So that's 5th fret of the low E and the 4th fret of the A string, and then the open D, and then a G power chord. So all together you got. And it's a little bit tricky doing the hybrid picking. You don't absolutely have to do it. You can alternate pick it like this. Just has a little bit of a different sound. Way I kind of do it, I'm using my middle finger. I kind of use the nail on the A string. And I just kind of hold it like this. And I almost kind of have my fingers kind of locked in place so that I'm not having to like pick and then pluck. I just kind of have them here and I just move my wrist. So it's like, as I go up, the middle finger catches the A string. As I go down, the pick catches the low E. That's kind of how I do it. Or you can also kind of rotate your wrist and pick and pluck. Whatever's most comfortable. And it is pretty heavily palm muted on that. So once you do that 4 times, that takes us to this next riff. So crazy train sounding riff. So 2nd fret of the low E twice. This is also pretty heavily palm muted. And then 4th fret of the A, back to that 2nd fret low E, and then 5th fret of the A, back to that 2nd fret low E, and then hit that 4th fret of the A again with a pinch harmonic. And then you hit the 3rd fret of the low E twice, and then 4 or 5 on the A, and then hit that 3rd fret of the low E again twice. Stretch up here, pinky to the 7th fret of the D string, and then 3rd fret of the low E again twice, and then the 5th fret of the D string. So all together. Okay, So each time you're coming back to that 3rd fret twice. So. And then it'll do this part again. So once you hit that G, that 3rd fret of the low E twice, it just pauses for a minute, and then it does that crazy fast. So that that's gonna be 7th fret of the G string, pull off to 6 and then 4, all legato pulling off. And then 7, 5, 4 on the D, and then 7, 5, 4 on the A, and then 7, 5, 3 on the low E. So, and it's just real fast. If it's a little bit sloppy, it's okay. Sometimes I kind of get that note in there by accident, just like, and it's fine. Just, it's kind of meant to be just a fast slurry in notes. If it's a little sloppy, it's okay. But I kind of think of that, since we're in a F sharp Phrygian, I think of this as like a G Lydian shape. Like, so anyway, that's pretty much it, and then it'll repeat that little, and then once it comes back to the, then it pauses and has the next riff. Instead of doing the, it just goes into. That's real easy. You're just chunking on this F sharp power chord here, 2nd fret of the low E, and then hit the low E, and then up to the G. And then repeat the intro riff again. That whole sequence it does again. Okay, now for the solo. I'm back a couple days later because I was editing this video, and when I was teaching the solo, I accidentally went out of frame of the video a few times, so I figured I'm just going to redo this. First lead section goes like this. I'll do that twice. So that's just sliding up the B string to the 12th fret. Pick it a few times, and then pick it a couple more times and slide up to the 14th. And then same kind of thing up to the 15th. Then up to 20, and then pick it again, 20, 19, 17. So the first time it does that twice, and then it goes back to the main riff again, and then it does that again, and then leads into the solo. So the first bit of the solo is going to sound like this. Alright, so we're going to be up here at the 19th fret, grab the G and the B string together, and give it a little half step bend. And then go 21, 19, 21 on the D. Do that again. And then go 19 on the D. And then slide down 21 to 19 on the A. And then play 17 on the A. So you're going. So all together. Alright, then do the again, and then we have this. You're just bending 21 on the G, and then grabbing 22 on the B. Give that a bend again, and then go 19, 19, 21, 19 on the G. So some heavy vibrato on there. So that's the first bit. And then it's gonna do that pretty much the same thing again, but with a different ending. So it'll be like. So you're pretty much just changing how you end that. Instead of going, it's going to be more like, or whichever one you prefer there, but you're pretty much just ending on that bend, the 21st fret, the G string with some vibrato on it. And then it goes into just hitting that 21 on the B string over and over with some vibrato, or you could bend. But I think he's just hitting the 21 there, so just hits that several times, and then as the next bar or whatever, then it goes into this really fast. And he'll do that whole lick 8 times. So you're hitting that, and then you come over here, and for this lick, this is not super hard. It probably sounds harder than it really is, but it's just kind of about getting it up to speed. But it's a very Buckethead style shred lick he does all the time. So we're going to be at the 16th fret of the high E, hammer on, pull off the 18, so, and then play 17 on the B. I'm sorry, 19 on the B. So, and then back to 16. So hammer on, go to 19, and then play 16 on the high E, and then 19, and then do the hammer on pull off from 18 and 19, and then pull off all the way down to 16. So you've got, and then just end it by going 19 on the B. So slow. It'll do that whole thing 8 times real fast. And then we're almost there, just one little lick left after that, 8 times, then it transitions up to this. So we were keeping the index finger at the 16th fret of the high E. We're just moving these up to 21 and 19, all in the high E, and you pull them all off, and then play the 19th of the B, and then work back up. So it's just, and then 16, 19, 21, pulling off again. As soon as you get back up there, you're pulling off again, starting over. So it's just, and it'll do that one. If you count this as just one, like that's one, and then that's 2, then it does it like 16 times. But I kind of count it like, you know, like I count 2 as 1. So like 1, 2, you know, like that. So that way they're both 8. But really, I just, the only reason I figured that out is so I could tell you guys how many times it is. Because realistically, I'm not counting them, you know, I'm just, you kind of go by feel. But I figured I wanted to actually find out so I could tell you guys how many times to do the lick, because I didn't know. Anyway, once you do that, like your 16th time or whatever, then it just ends by this. So you're just giving 21 on the high E a bend and release, and then hit 19 of the high E, and then 21 of the B. Or if you want to keep your fingers like this, you could hit that 16 of the high E and go. Just preference. I kind of do both sometimes. I don't know. And that's the end of the song. So that does it. Those licks are a little hard to get up to speed but they're not too bad. They're pretty fun to do. Just kind of work on them and get them up to speed. And the rest of the song isn't too bad. Hardest part is probably the intro. Hybrid picking that. But that pretty much does it. If there's any other songs, Buckethead or not, songs you guys want to see me cover, let me know in the comments. And yeah, thanks for watching.